Hello, universe. Welcome to Pickathon Podcast, episode 28, with Orchestra Gold. I am your host, Zale, the founder of the Pickathon Music Festival, which is a festival kind of based on discovery. And this podcast, we're talking with people. We're having kind of creative journey discussions. We're hopefully wandering into some cool new territory that you didn't think about before. So wish us luck. Here we go today. I am excited about Orchestra Gold today. We get to talk to them in a bit. It's one of those styles of music that they play. It's kind of rooted in Mali, but it has kind of broader influences. And what's just so great about that is it just demonstrates that the idea of things that are local. Local is what is kind of the spice of life, the magic, and it's kind of true whether you think about food or music, venues, just so many things. And it's really hard. We've been kind of going through a conditional use permit, as folks know, to have a local festival that's plays a national festival on TV. We're not a nationally kind of backed. We're not one of the big boys. We play with big boys, but we're very, very much a scrappy kind of, but we look well run. And, I would say that for most folks doing things something like we're doing on this conditional use would be no problem. They'd go hire consultants and blah, blah, blah. They'd have it turned in. But for people that are, not of those means, trying to kind of create these things in cities, whether it's a venue, for us, it's a festival. It's hard. I mean, I think somebody was telling me the other day that they usually hire a couple $100,000 in consultants for, doing what I'm doing with the conditional use and environmental overlays. I wasn't trained to do this. I'm a musician. I'm a music person. I can do tech. I do other things, but I didn't know the intricacies of all of this. And although we're well defined, we've been kind of going on forever, and we have this thing down to a science, we still have to kind of explain that in this application. And it just, it really just kind of separates this idea that, things that are special or local don't necessarily have the resources. They have the specialness. And if they take root, that's what makes communities amazing. So if you think about any place you really just love, you can really dig down that this isn't like you might like McDonald's or some kind of like big venue that is kind of owned by like a larger corporation, because it kind of feels the same no matter where you go. And they may do a good job, and it's comforting. And, you might live in suburbia like most people and have those as your common experience. And it's not bad. And you just kind of like retreat to your bedroom, your living rooms and your backyards and your weddings and the things that are local, so when you have something in a town or a festival or a venue, especially, for us, food, it's like community gathers. And like, you can't necessarily do that at McDonald's. Like, it just doesn't necessarily it might actually be the spot everyone goes after a football game or something, but it's not the thing that's going to be like turning, people's lives around, and making lives just catapult somewhere unexpected, because they're just having these incredible mentors and these beautiful experiences that change their lives, and things that just really pull you in. And if it's done right in that kind of community, you're infecting the next generation and the people around you and the people that visit, and they take some of that things that are local and they go places and they make something that's their version of it. And I just wish it was easier for all of us to have more things that are local. Like, I think it's just really brutal in the United States, where you're just capitalism, you do or die. And maybe it's good because if it's a good local thing, it'll eventually take root. But I don't think folks have as many advantages of, like some people, like I had a day job. I didn't need to live off this festival. And forever, we were just kind of putting it in. And that's just not possible if you really wanted it, And I think it's the same whether you're a farmer or you're a musician or you get lucky or, but it should be far easier to do. And I'm reflecting on this. And, I go back to it because I know from our perspective in the music world, if you didn't have local music and if it wasn't coming from parts of the world, this would be a very boring place. You would have kind of the McDonald's, and then there is the kind of McDonald's of music. It's like, this is the formula. This is going to sell records. And oh, you it has a good story and kind of marketing behind it. I don't have anything against that. I think some of that can actually be totally awesome, and I'm totally stoked. But the really amazing essences of music come from places of unexpected, and they infect other people, and they start to play some of those influences in their own music. And it could be regionally, can be different countries, it can just be neighborhoods in a city. But the kind of just spice of life, that is what is so awesome. And I think our guest today is like an amazing example of that. It's this music could not have existed and without being, going to the source. And so with that, I'd like to talk to my guest today. Welcome, Orchestra Gold. It's Erich and Mariam from Orchestra Gold. How you doing?
Hey, good. And you?
I'm having a lovely day. It's great. And yeah, so thinking about your music, which will just kind of, I've heard you have an album named African Psychedelic Rock, which just like are three of my favorite kind of like, okay, I'm in, I'll do it. I think that I think it's cool, like, because this music is kind of a mixture of like Oakland and Mali, right? Like, and
Yeah.
there's just like a very like where Erich, I think you guys tell us how you guys met. Where did you guys meet?
So Mariam and I met in, I think, 2006, in Mali. It's
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in Mali from 2005 to 2008, and I was actually, among other things, studying the djembe music of Mali. So the djembe
Yeah.
and dune music. And
Awesome.
my teacher, Mache, shout out to Mache, introduced me to Mariama. And we became friends.
Yeah.
And I knew her at that time just as a dancer. And I knew she sang also. But it wasn't until like this pivotal moment. I was listening actually to a band, Tubab Crew, with my teacher, Mache. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is really, I was showing it to him and he's like, oh, this is really interesting what they're doing. They're like taking our music, but they're mixing it with their music too. And he's like, who could sing to this kind of stuff is Marama. And that kind of like moment planted a seed. This was 12 years ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That were just like the branches continually expand from that. Yeah. We started working together on like more music, like writing stuff together at first. So I began writing songs here and like demoing them out. And then I would take them to Mali and she would sing on top of them. And we got like the first kind of maybe the first album's worth of music like that. But then I guess at one point I asked her if she wanted to come to the US. And she's like, yeah. And then it was just like a question of
just pick up.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. But then of course, like we had to figure out the visa situation. And that took probably like how long to get the visa? 2 years, 3 years from
No.
Segu?
No, just 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
How would you describe like where you were living in Mali and the local like music scene? What was that like?
So I'm gonna transition into Bamana.
Yeah. Which is the local language, right? That you from as a Bamako? Is that the city?
Yes.
Bamako.
Bamako, yeah.
Yeah. Bon, nima music digi.
Okay, so first of all, the idea of like studying music is a little different in Mali. She can't really say that she like studied it in a school or anything like that. She didn't go to like a teacher and study from them specifically, like because some people do that, but she didn't do it like that.
Yeah, ne dongli da.
She started singing actually in the madrasa, which is the Islamic school, and they would put her to sing songs
Yeah.
in madrasa.
And Mistri la fanang meta wajulu.
They would also sing in the mosque. There's a style called zigri, which is like it's like religious songs.
Yeah.
I hear in the vocal styles kind of an Islam because in Mali there's this kind of border, like sometimes the Tuareg is and the kind of more African and then everything in between, right? And so some is more like there's like an Islamic kind of like overtone to the singing style, like an Arabic style. It's pretty interesting. It's just an influence. It's like a vocal tenor to the style. Like is the scene where you learn music, was it like parties? Was there venues? Was it like weddings? Where did people play music?
Bon, infle camin fo ni madrasa kero la wote menu kofe.
So after the
Titi
mosque
banga
and
me
these experiences in the madrasa,
intercartier
she would hear the sounds of the djembe in the streets. And one day she convinced her brother to go with her, and they snuck out of the house because her father wouldn't have let them go to any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And they snuck out of the house and they went to like a street ceremony.
No, intercartier.
Oh, interquartier.
Oh, parce que avec une compétition de quartier en quartier.
So basically, they have these things called the interquartier, which is like these competitions that they do between the different neighborhoods in Bamako. And when she stuck out, she went to one of these. And so she saw all these different groups competing, like from all these different neighborhoods. And they took her and they put her in front, and they had her dancing in front of everyone. And she loved it, and everyone told her she was really good, and that gave her like incentive to want to come back again.
But you were dancing and not were you singing at the same time, or did singing come later?
Yeah.
In the troops, they would sing like choruses, like with a big group of people where they're all singing the same words together.
Yeah, like 30 people, 40 people, or 25 people
Oh,
sing.
wow.
Yeah, men sing and women answer.
Like a call and response.
It seems like the style of music is kind of a very vocal first kind of approach. Like, would that be accurate? Would you?
Alika hakili la bisa kakuwe me.
Oh, okay, so she's saying she understands how it could be seen that way. She actually doesn't agree. And she wants you to ask her why that is, I think.
Yeah, no, I think when I hear, maybe I should phrase it as Orchestra Gold's music feels very kind of vocal centric, and that because I hear the rhythm and the structure really being built around the vocals, and I wonder if how that contrasts, like from what how would you describe it, and is that like that in where you grew up?
Oh, I was talking.
Yeah, she's saying, yeah, she understands that, and she thinks so too. And inside of the other musics of Mali, you could find that a similar dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on rhythmically, and so Erich, how do you approach it? Do you do some of the writing? I mean, in the music, have I read that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Mariam and I write most of the music together, and then we bring stuff. And that's kind of the germ, that's kind of like the seed. And then things go through this like process of refinement with the rest of the others in the band who give their input and stuff. But her and I write a lot of the music. And I think because we both spent so much time around like djembe and dunun music, that like those feels like the
Heavy.
yeah, like the rhythmic stuff you were talking
heavy
about.
rhythmic.
Like the music isn't straight. Like the spacing between the notes is often like off. So like for example, in like the Western motif of thinking about rhythm, people talk about polyrhythms, but polyrhythms can kind of be a little bit of a distraction when talking about this music, because polyrhythm kind of assumes that everything is on a grid and it's straight. But like, because the music is uneven, you get these really interesting like fractals of rhythms that cluster together and happen together. So it's like, instead of like do 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 do, which would be like totally straight, in Mali, maybe you would find something like a shuffle more, and that's because the spacing between the notes is different, and it's not random. Like there's patterns to it, But
Yeah, I hear that.
yeah,
And did you, when you were over there, like how, as kind of like visiting, how did you experience music? Was it just in people's houses? Like where did you mostly pick up on music when you were there?
Mache, my teacher that I was talking about. I mean, for a few years, I would just go to his house every Sunday and Thursday, and he would take me with him to weddings.
And weddings were the big kind of outings. There wasn't like shows or venues. They were really like shows were at people's weddings.
Yeah, there's definitely shows that happen in Mali, but like there's just so much music that happens in the street,
Yeah.
weddings, and
Yeah, every Sunday and every Thursday we have wedding party every Sunday, every Thursday.
I love that. I love that. That's like the kind of, it's always different. Like you go to New Orleans, it just shows up on somebody's corner, right? And they're probably having some party, or it's just like different. I mean, the fact that it sounds like it was like a community thing, right? Where did everyone come out for that Thursday and Sunday?
yeah, a lot of people. Ni jaman becaya.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, a
And
lot of
it's
people.
not just one wedding party. Different.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Different,
And so
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
if you want to get married on Thursday or Sunday, is there someone that's saying, "Oh no, we're full," or do you just show up to get married?
No, abi sudah ka
She's saying that they actually like give notice to the mayor's office when they have weddings, and like for each little neighborhood, there may be like 20 weddings going on a given Sunday, but they give them the people like notice in advance so that they could do it.
And do they hire a band, or is it the neighborhood band? Where does the band fit in?
abi depani
People just like are a lot more connected, so that like they'll call musicians directly and invite them to come to their wedding. She says it depends on like what kind of music you like, because some will do like djembe and dunun music.
Yeah.
Some will do orchestra. They call orchestra music when there's like guitar, bass, and drums. That's where our name comes from.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Like
Yeah.
orchestra foley,
Yeah.
sumu
Folly.
foley.
Yeah.
So it just
We
depends
have
on what
different.
they all have
Yeah.
different styles. Yeah.
But will they travel far, or will they be locals, like somebody from the community?
For example, follikala do be se ka bo.
So if for example, if somebody really wants, maybe they're from Segu or they're from Mopti, and they
like
really
some
want.
people, like you can, I'm here. I can call some people from Los Angeles or from New York or from Colorado. Yeah.
Maybe if you really like that style of music,
Yeah.
and you want to bring those people, then you can do that too, because all the regions have really specific traditions.
They do.
Yeah.
I actually am fascinated by that for like Mali. Out of any country that I ever kind of come across the music, I'm surprised more often by how wildly different the music is.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind blowing. I actually don't understand how a country can produce so many styles of music. There's usually like a more popular style, right? That kind of reigns, and there's locals, and maybe, but it's not the case with Mali. For some reason, there's so many styles that are so different.
Yeah, parce que Shia ka champi, Yeah, Shia beni aka folli do.
She's saying that there's so many styles of music because there's so many ethnicities in Mali. Mali has a
Yeah.
lot of different ethnic groups with different rich traditions and cultures, all their own.
Yeah, and it feels like music is a central part of the culture, and it feels like. I mean, would that be true?
Yeah.
Yeah, she agrees with that. I was just gonna say to the last point too about the ethnicities, like one thing that I've noticed a lot, like we tend to talk about Malian music in Western terms, like people use this word like desert blues, for example, which is like sort of a Western interpretation of something.
Yes,
that
it is.
Malians often, I've heard them just refer to things in terms of like ethnicity, So like that's that ethnic group's music, like that's Bamana music, that's Malinke music, that's Tuareg music, like you were talking about
Mm-hmm.
earlier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, ethnic groups being really important, a really important piece of it.
Yeah, and like I've always noticed too this, and I think you guys I hear this in your music too. It's not a traditional like, chorus verse, right? It's the kind of song structures are wildly different too.
Yeah.
E be se ka do nye fo ala, ou bien ne ka do
Bon,
nye fo ala.
parce que ne tɛ Amérique musique arrangement ko kalama.
Yeah, Marama she doesn't really follow like the American standards of arranging music when she creates stuff. Sometimes like the point you were making earlier about about the vocals being at the center of it, that was like a really crucial shift that I had to make once I started writing music with her, because like
Interesting.
everything really has to be very intimately connected with the vocals, you know. In a way that like you could, for example, like if I was writing with the Western, like if you and I were to write a song, maybe I could just make an instrumental and then send it to you and you could add vocals to it, you know. But like we can't really do that with her. Like from the get, everything, like the key, the tempo, everything has to be really intimately inclusive of the vocals, you know.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It just feels like it's the underpinning of the vocals, like the rhythm, everything kind of is matching up to what the feeling of the vocals is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're lucky to get to work with her. Yeah.
It's cool because I've actually, in 2017 your first record was that African psychedelic rock. I don't know if that was your first release. Was there any other music before that?
No, that's the first one. That's the first one.
Okay.
She got here in 2017, so yeah.
Okay, and then 2023 you had some EPs in the middle, some singles.
Yeah,
And then Medicine, which came out actually in January of this year.
correct.
And that had the sound, it just felt more like you guys kind of felt like each other, and there's definitely a really kind of deep production value to that record too. Tell me about recording that record.
An ye a baara kɛ cogo jumɛn?
So she's saying a major difference between
parce que ale
Medicine and the others is
an ye
like
ka
she
kɛ
really
caman
started.
bɛ ale kɔnɔ.
So in the big, like the 20 in the African psychedelic rock, a lot of those are pretty, I wouldn't say they're covers, but they're a lot closer to like songs that exist somewhere else that like other people have sang and done their own interpretations of, which happens all the time. But like for Medicine, we made a conscious effort to just move away from that and try to focus on her doing original creations and us doing music to those two, just as a way to like really get in touch with our own, like tap into our own unique chemistry, you know. And so a lot of the songs in Medicine are songs that they're all her unique vocals and lyrics and stuff like that too. And yeah, and then we also like got to work. So we recorded those at Tiny Telephone in Oakland, and we recorded
wow,
everything
cool.
on. Yeah, have you been there?
No, but I know, isn't like the guy from Antibalas or Chico Man, or did you do some work with him?
Yeah, we worked with Chico Man from Antibalas, and we
Incredible
had
band.
yeah, he's a great guy. I love Here Lies Man.
Oh yeah.
If you're listening to this and you haven't heard Here Lies Man, just go listen to Animal Noises Here Lies Man right now. But yeah, he brought like a really neat like the music that we're creating sits inside of like a lot of things that he's been around. And Antibalas is like a huge influence on us and so many other people, you know.
Oh yeah.
So it was really great to get to work with him, and he brought like a nice, fresh, refined aesthetic to the whole thing, and he made the music feel like it was creating like its own dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, and I just, when I was preparing, I was looking at your the Lost tape you guys just released. I might be my favorite thing you guys have released.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Zale.
There's a sparseness to some of it that really adds a whole nother layer of kind of depth. And I don't know if when was that recorded? Is that new? Is that just outtakes or?
Those are outtakes from like between 2017 and 2019
Yeah.
that we just hadn't released on Spotify before. So it was just like more like a recent release.
There was one track that specifically you did with guitar and vocals. I think it was the last track. It was really cool.
Oh, is it? Yeah, just guitar and vocals and like a little slapback delay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hakili Nyumaya.
Hakili nyuma yi abikumi kube
Yeah, she says there's lots of things in the vocals for that are interesting, but basically it's like the message is like everything happens for a reason. Like there's nothing that happens that doesn't have a divine purpose behind it.
Yeah, anga moko yake ni hakili na nyuma ya kwa.
So it's good to keep that in mind when we're dealing with people and like our other relations, because that can help us understand people and understand ourselves better.
Oh yeah. I mean, I hear kind of a spiritual kind of feeling to all the music, right? There's just kind of, which some of the best, my favorite music, it just kind of, I stop thinking about whatever else is happening and I'm just kind of in a moment, right? And it feels like you as a singer, but as a band, you're really tapping into that kind of a spirituality and a kind of transcendent kind of just being in the moment. Would you think the same thing? Would that like be accurate?
Thank you. That's a very high compliment.
Yoro bala olu dabulendo ukama.
Yeah, she says some of our that's intentional for some of the music, and then some of the times it just kind of comes out. But she says it's also important to like highlight you're bringing that to the experience as well, so you're a piece of it, because you're coming to it with the intention of having that experience. And if you hadn't come to it with the intention of having that experience, you wouldn't have had that experience too.
It makes it easier when it brings you to that place because you are coming from that place. But yes, I agree with that too. I mean, I the first time we heard you, a friend of mine sent this, and it's great how just random sometimes our processes. We really kind of focus locally. So I'll want to know all of your suggestions for music from Mali that we don't know. And the second I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. What is this? And to find that you were actually in Oakland, and it just really confused me that you weren't, this is somehow local or I mean, West Coast local.
Yeah. Wow. That's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, your experience, I'm curious, people when they get to see your music at a festival like Pickathon, they're like in a place where you're hungry, they're open, right? And I think you really, especially like just people had never experienced that type of music. I know from kind of what people have told me from their experiences and my own that it was a pretty wild like experience for them. How was it for you at Pickathon?
Yeah, it was great. It was great for us too. Like the people really are like open in a special way, because I feel like music, you want to touch people with it, like you don't want it to just sit in this vacuum. Like you want people to experience it, and so you're always looking for ways that you could do that. And like it was just a blessing for us that we were able to share that in the dimension that you guys have created. You've created,
Yeah,
it's like a very ripe dimension with lots of different possibilities, and
it's also very intentional. So like when those two, often the kind of best music is that very intentional kind of like essence of what they're trying to do, right? And so we always have thought like from the festival side, it should also be very intentional and not just functional, right? Like if again it's that whole local versus like just people will come, we could just put chain link fences and a pop-up stage, who cares? No, that's not very intentional.
No, and it really was beautiful for us to get a lot of the intentionality that you all put into like crafting an experience for the artists that was really special too. Like you guys really put a lot of thought into like not just like the physical amenities, which were awesome, but also like creating opportunities for us to interact with each other behind the stage and meet each other. And like there wasn't a lot of walls or separation. Everyone was kind of like
Yes. You
encouraged.
didn't have a trailer with a cheese plate for 10 minutes. And then
Yeah. Which I don't know. I can't speak for other artists, but I don't need that, you know? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Did you meet anybody else, any other artists, or see any other music?
Yeah, we saw the Meridian Brothers. The Meridian Brothers
Oh my
were
God.
really cool. I got to talk to the bass player for a minute.
Incredible.
I saw Witch also, which
Incredible.
yeah, is a legend.
Oh yeah.
Doyere ka foli. Ema assiste do ka fena yenfewa. Mo wore ka foli la.
Yeah, musom kumeka
Marama saw an artist that she's blanking on the name, but she played with the piano around the time we did that she really, really liked.
I cannot remember either. I have to look at the schedule. But I think it was the first year we had 3 bands from Mali, you know, because we had also had Amharan
Oh,
and
yeah.
and Huffaker.
Uh,
Yeah.
They were
I don't know V. Farkature, but I know his father before he's died.
oh wow.
Long times ago.
Ali Farka.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long times ago. I can say 20 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, absolute world legend, just legend in, you know, kind of opening the, you know, I mean, music was always there, but it was just
It's nice.
one of those, yeah.
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 View is nice too, and he was amazing, and I just, it kind of is a great illustration, like it just rarely, we had a lot of music from all over the world this last year, but more than, you know, just because it felt like that was what was happening. There was all this
Yeah.
great music from Latin America, but just having 3 bands from one country out of many countries in Africa, and all the music being wildly different,
Yeah.
as just again just goes back to this whole thing that these kind of this ethnic, if you guys which is local music, just, you know, makes the world a better place. And instead of like trying to homogenize all of it, right, it should just, I'm rooting for it to like not get washed out because it, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, totally. I feel you. I'm rooting for that too. And it does feel like there's a moment of expression for that. Like I was listening the other day to a playlist on Spotify called Neo Psychedelic Rock. And
Yes.
have you come across that one? It's, yeah.
Well, I often just I like to sample the random, you know, and yeah, I totally have that one. Yes.
Yeah. It's a great one, but like most of it is like, I think 60% of it is rock mixed with something else. Like very
Yes.
little of it is just like straight ahead. Like, so it's like, it's kind of like a moment now where people are more open to those influences than like they were before. But like, I think it's also important to highlight, at least like for our music, you know, like if you were to play our music from Malians, I think they would experience it more as being American. Like they would react more to
Yes.
the American side of it too, you know? So
Yeah.
like,
Well, there's a rock and horns and a kind of there's a sensibility there that feels, I mean, the singing and it, you know, I think you probably are in the Netherlands. If you played it to an American, they would say, "Oh, that's not from here."
yeah,
And if you played it from somebody from Mali, they'd probably say, "Oh, that's American."
totally. Which makes sense. I mean, like we're a mixed group of people, like culturally, and I'm a mixed race person, and like it would just be, it's natural for us to create mixes together, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's also, we live in a country with like a really, just because of like the African American musical traditions, like we just come from one of the most interesting musical cultures in the world too, you know? So Mali, I feel like Mali and the US together, like it's bound to happen.
I'm all for it. I want more. So like I hope you guys are are like infecting other people to come, and it's hard to travel to get the visas, right? So some of the greatest music that we always want to bring, we can't get them here. We many artists that just can't travel because they don't have visas, and it's really frustrating, because I think it would be a better place to have music kind of going across borders, and like it shouldn't be so hard for a musician. What is the harm? Like, I just don't understand. Why could you possibly make it like almost impossible?
Yeah. Yeah, luckily, like, though, we had some stuff like that happen with her. Luckily though, like,
How did you solve it?
there's like I feel like there's a metaphysical level, like, she because her situation was very, it just felt like providence. Like, she went to Nebuseka Baya Senjai
Yeah.
for Nyafuanyana. So she's a member of the Baifal tradition, which is like
What?
Baifal is like a mystical branch of Islam. It's sort of like the West African equivalent of Sufism. And before she came to the United States, she went to visit her teacher and asked for his blessing for the trip, and he gave her the blessing. And I don't know, she's just been incredibly, like, she got an artist visa during the Trump era. And so
It's like the lottery winner.
it's like the lottery winner, but I feel like it can feel really insurmountable facing up against these larger forces that seem like they have a lot of power, but those institutions are not the most powerful thing in the world. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, persistence, faith that you're gonna get there, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
Are tend to just be more important.
Yeah, exactly, Zale. That's exactly what I was getting at. Yeah.
I feel you. Similar experience. I'm wondering what's coming down the pike for you guys now. What's next in your universe?
So we actually just got finished recording a new set of songs in the studio.
Awesome.
We're really excited to put those together and get a new album out. We're looking forward to next year. We're already starting, like, the bookings are looking pretty good for next year. So we're excited about seeing a lot of new places and meeting a lot of new people, and
Yeah.
That's great.
hopefully connecting with, like, other people to help us put the record forward too,
Yeah.
If you can think of any, like, record labels or just people who you think would be interested in what we're doing, like, we'd love to hear,
And we absolutely can. Like we share, and I would say, I think you have a lot of skills to do the record label part. Like sometimes the marketing is the best part, right? But I think having your rights over your music is really important. Just so whatever decision you make, don't give that up, because I think it's not it's like a loan when you kind of need it, but you can maybe persevere and figure it out. But I think the West Coast is probably something that's going to be very friendly for you, especially up here because of Pickathon.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be afraid to kind of travel up here, and it's awesome to see something so non-traditional like Oakland music, right? You wouldn't think there's this Mali band coming from United States, but now there is.
Yeah.
So and I will just give you a shout out too. Like, as much I love Voodoo Span, I love Antibalas, but the one thing I always love more than anything in all of my music is vocals.
Yeah.
And there's something that doesn't pull me to that. I don't go to the center, that meditative kind of spiritual place, unless I'm connecting vocally, with, and Mariam, your voice is absolutely stunning. It's a really important part of what I think makes Orchestra Gold so great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make you guys a deal. Thank you guys for being on the show. Like, we are gonna stay local. We won't go and just sell out, and you guys keep what is inspiring you, and I'm glad you made that trip to kind of make this connection and bring some amazing music to the world. So it's been a real pleasure to get to talk to you both.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to say thank you guys. This is the end of this episode, and we will We'll have more next week with some more amazing guests, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Erich and Mariam.
Thank you, Zale. We wish you guys the best. Continue abundance and prosperity.
Yes, and stay local. Come on, folks. Do some amazing things in the universe. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
You've been listening to the Pickathon Podcast. This podcast is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, Orchestra Gold. The songs included were Lemuru, Konia, Hakili Numaya, and the one we're riding out on right now, Mbaudi. Be sure to check out our Pickathon Patreon, where we have exclusive interviews, content, and insights into the Pickathon world. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you hear your podcasts. And tell a friend about where they can get on the Pickathon bandwagon. Thank you to the whole Pickathon family. And like Zale said, we'll catch you all next week.